Are you ready?
Yes, Acre.
Let's go.
What's up, guys? This is Just Like You and Me. We have Brandon Allaman here. Thank you for coming on, Brandon.
No, thank you guys. Great finally meeting you in person, you know.
Yeah, I've heard a lot about you. We kind of met through our friends of the Lemke's. Shout out Lemke's. Then we've been talking on social media for a little while, watching your channel grow. We got you a little over 700 now, which is fantastic.
Yes, sir.
But we're excited to get into like who you are, share your ministry, and just talk about just faith and family.
Yes, sir.
We're excited.
Yes, sir.
So you do traveling youth ministry, but you've not always done that. Like, where'd you start?
So I started 2010. I graduated high school, and my home parish still stuck around in the youth group. Would travel, do some formation, so discerned the priesthood, kind of try to do missionary work. Went to Ecuador, went to LA, Texas. But whenever I wasn't traveling, I would help out at my home parish youth group. So that's where I kind of started. So that was 2010 to 2013. And then I worked for two professional or nationally known ministries. One was Shine Catholic Work Camp, and then Hard as Nails Ministries. So after that, from 2013 to 2016, I did that. And then I went back to my hometown, was a youth minister for 4 years, and in 2020 took the show on the road. So, yeah.
That's super exciting. Yeah, you got to work with some, your formation time, ministries. It's working with Justin Fatika. That's awesome. He's an awesome guy. Very, very intense. I love it.
Yeah.
One of my favorite clips is when he was doing his preaching, and he'd bring someone up and hit him with the chair. He'd get hit by the chair.
Yeah.
It was he was hard. He was hard as nails.
Yeah.
And so
Yes.
You travel the country ministering. So what exactly do you do? You have four phases.
Yes. So my first phase is pre-event. So I'll meet a church or a school or a place, and I'll kind of introduce myself, kind of develop relationships with the youth minister, the kids. So it's not about me and my events. It could be their own youth group or their own youth group night out or, fun event that they do. So then I do an event, so that could be a talk or a retreat, and then I do follow-up. So it's not just a one-and-done event. It's I continue building relationships, so that could be going to their house, meeting their families. It could be going back to their youth group. It could be, going to play sports or going to their football game or tennis game or stuff like that. And then my last phase is a career mentorship program. So I connect them with whatever career they want to do. I connect them with a virtuous Catholic person in that career field. So it could be an aerospace engineer. So if they want to be an aerospace engineer, I connect them with a Catholic aerospace engineer. So when they go to college, they can stay focused, on what they want to do with their life, their passion. And then say they graduate, they can get an internship or a job through that Catholic, and they stay Catholic for the, they don't have to take their work and their faith and separate it. As Catholics, we're supposed to, live in you, mind, body, soul. It's not just supposed to be about praying the rosary. We're a community. We're universal. We're together as one. We're not separate. So,
That's awesome.
So that's the 4 phases. That's what I do. So, yeah.
Yes, I remember we talked about the 4 phases. I mean, my brother talked about how awesome your ministry was. It's cool that it's holistic. It's not just you go get the kids all riled up, on fire for Christ, and then it's peace, give my money and leave.
Yeah.
It's truly you're there for all of them, and you're building those relationships and building the network, and then adding mentors into it. That's huge. I think I told you when we were on the phone one day, having a mentor is super important because there's a lot of intricacies of careers that people just don't know about.
Yeah.
You can't Google everything.
Yeah.
sorry guys, you can't Google everything, and it's cool to like learn that and have that connection.
Yes.
That's amazing.
You actually truly invest in people.
Yeah.
It's a true investiture because I really like how you, one of the phases that you said, you place an actual really big importance on follow-up.
Yeah.
Because I assume this is probably, it's not necessarily the fault of youth ministry, but just sort of like the nature of being a travel youth ministry is that you're constantly called from place to place to place to place. And that really kind of, it's nice because you get to go from place to place to place to place, and you get to meet so many new people and, you know, experience so many different things.
Yeah.
But one of the problems with it is that you get spread out with showing so many different places. Whereas like with you, it sounds that you're more concerned in actually building a network where there's more repeatability. You're going to a place for the specific purpose of being able to go back to that place and meet those same people and make sure, you know, kind of like St. Paul almost. Like you pick your places and then really invest in them.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm not here to build like followers. I'm here to build leaders. And I feel like, you know, I'm not better or worse than anyone else, but I feel like when you give a talk or you run a retreat, it's a lot of like fame and glory being like a Catholic speaker. But it's not about you. We're already Catholic. We're already living our faith. Like, I want these kids to be leaders. Like, who cares what I say or do? It's about what they do, what they're saying after the retreat. So I don't care about the event. I care about the kids taking an aspect of it and being Catholic the rest of their lives, you know? So it's about, you know, like I said, building leaders. So and that's the best way of building, you know, investing not just one event, but their lifetime. So
Yeah, 'cause the world's definitely full of a lot of followers right now.
Yeah.
And making leaders, especially Catholic leaders, it's beautiful. Like, it's, and so what are the ages of the youth group? It's like true like high schoolers or?
So I work with, I'll do like middle school and high schoolers and young adults. So like college age, they become college, you know, kids I've worked with for 14 years now. So now they're late 20s, early 30s, which is crazy. But anyone really, like I meet kids, like I meet someone's family and then their little brother is like, you know, I'm working with him now. And it's like, I'll do any age with the follow-up, but like where I do retreats and talks, it's mostly high school and middle school. And I've done a couple young adult events now. So
do you think that going forward, you might open up to more like young adult things, or more young adults might reach out to you, or is you're more focused on like that where they need that career building that started that vocation?
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to, like, that's one of my biggest things I want to build is the career mentorship program. Just because, you know, I want to have a team. I want to, you know, have people like find their passions, and like, so I'd love to do more like young adult stuff. Which I'm at that age, like I feel like I can do that. Whereas like 10 years ago, 5 years ago, I was still young, you know. So, and my personality doesn't clash well with some young adults. So I'm like, you know, I got to mature a little, you know, and I feel like I'm at that age to work with young adults. So, which, so.
Yeah, because this is important because we had a young adult minister, Jack Martiski, on a while ago now, and he started a young adult group at St. Sebastian's, our home parish, called Many Vidi Vici, and because his young adults just need community so bad. It's we get, like we talk about, you go to college, you just kind of get thrown into the world, use everything at your fingertips, and then you lose your true grounding because you're trying to balance all these other things. But like having community is beautiful. Then having someone in there to help, like, because there's a lot of people that are like in like farther on in that formation, they're in their vocation and stuff like that. We have plenty of married people in there, but so people just like need a little bit of help sometimes, you know. It's good to have that and have someone who like not only is going to help you but care about you throughout all of it. Is still like that's probably the biggest thing I'll ever take away from you. You care, truly.
I mean, the world is a dog-eat-dog world, and as Catholics, like I said, we're not supposed to be like that. We're supposed to help each other. We're supposed to be a community. So we need that, and that's what faith does. It brings people together, or it's supposed to bring people together. So, and we're not just supposed to separate our lives, you know.
Yeah.
We're supposed to be whole.
Mm.
And having Catholics like talk about their jobs, talk about their careers in the church is so important because they need that. They need that sense of community, not just inside the church walls, it's outside the church walls. So,
Right. Yeah, I was going to say, I think it's really, it's especially nowadays, I think a lot of people, particularly young adults, people in, you know, our age group, when you kind of come out of college, you obviously get a little bit more confronted with the nature of the world. And you find that, you know, the world's not, you know, just inherently this Catholic place where you're not being, you know, obligated to go to church every Sunday with your parents anymore, right? And so it becomes a little bit tougher to live your Catholic faith because not everything in your life is kind of centralized around that anymore. But it's beautiful what you're doing because you, like you said, it's so important to build this kind of Catholic network to show people that, you know, it might not seem like it is Catholic, but there is a lot of Catholics out there that you can find. You know, if you're willing to put yourself in the right area to find them. For us, we're lucky enough with, you know, the work that we have on the side that there are a lot of, you know, Catholics that kind of work alongside of us. But I know for a lot of people, it's like, you know, you're just looking for a job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I find like if you look at any industry, the best person in that industry is probably Catholic. So it's like, why wouldn't you like help each other? Like, you know, it's so key. It's so like, I mean, I feel like that's what like the Jewish community does, right? So it's like we can be like that too. Like, who cares what the world thinks? Like, let's help each other. Like, we can help everyone because that's what the Catholic Church does. We help. Look at Mother Teresa. She helped the poor. She helped everyone. But we're supposed to really help each other grow. And it's so important, especially like Catholics are leading in every industry.
Yeah.
Like, you know. So,
yeah. And like Mike said, I mean, it's so important for community. Like nowadays, there are just so many things out there that are designed to separate people and put people in like their own bubble, like social media. We talk about it all the time. Social media is something that's there to provide you with your own specific, unique algorithm that is tailored to your personal beliefs and whatever. That's not good, right?
Yeah.
But having a community that you can kind of go to, like what you're doing and what Jack is doing, and what so many other people are starting, what we're even doing with this podcast, like we really just want to create the new Catholic bubble that all of the Catholics can kind of fit into and like, you know, be happy as Catholics.
Yeah. For sure.
And you mentioned how like the Catholic Church is like it helps a lot, and a lot of people that are high up in certain industries are Catholic. And I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure like the Catholic Charities is like donates like the most money and helps just around the world more than like most any other charity.
Yeah.
And Catholic Church has been doing that for as long as it's existed. Obviously, there's dark times just like any time in history with humans, but people need to remember their identity. They do not hide from it. We talked about that with on our last podcast, how some Catholics are almost ashamed to be Catholic, or they're just like you mentioned, Catholic just at church. But we are Catholic. Father Valenchek in his homilies talked about something, how he's not like, so let's say you like you like music or something like that. It's like, I'm gonna completely butcher it. Sorry, Father, if you're watching. But it's like you're not like a. Or is it, so I was going to use Catholic's analogy. Scratch that part. We're not just like, I'm not just a human who's Catholic. I'm a Catholic who's human.
Yeah.
Like Catholic is us. That is who we actually are.
Yeah.
And we've flipped it around. Because I mean, you could argue who wants to hide that we're Catholic, but we just like with individualism, with social media and stuff like that, we've just slowly gone to the wayside.
Yeah.
But I love that you mentioned the Jewish community because I was thinking about that too. They build each other up immensely. They just always are referring people to their counterparts. They're helping so much. I mean, see how successful they are. And even like the Mormons, they do the same thing. And why aren't Catholics doing that? Like some people do to a point, but we need to be always lifting each other up, always helping out. And it's free to just give advice. Just even if you are at the top level, whatever, and you have someone come up to you who's like, hey, like, can I ask you a question? You're like, nah, like, my advice is too valuable. It's like, no, it's not. Like, just help. Like, you do one good deed a day. That could be it.
Yeah.
Just reaching out, helping. But so with your ministry,
Mm-hmm.
it was not always been easy, but
Yeah.
persevering through it is awesome.
Yeah.
You talk about like your humble beginnings
Mhm.
and kind of how you've gotten here now today.
Yeah. That's so much. That, I mean, it started like in 2010. Like, I was not a church kid growing up. You know, I played football. You know, like I was telling you, like, when I'm around Catholics, I act super pagan, and probably, yeah, Jesus help me. And I just had a bad reputation. You know, I wanted to give God a chance and give him everything after high school. And a lot of the youth group kids judged me as an adult chaperone and stuff. You know, they wanted to kick me out of youth group, and I'm trying to help them and all this stuff. So it's hard. Like, at the very beginning, you know, I stumbled. I wasn't perfect in the middle years, but all that like helped me endure. You know, my officially like starting Living You was during COVID. And events weren't going on. You know, I wasn't really asking for money, and, you know, I was still traveling, meeting with people, and ran out of money to like for gas. So I remember I was in Oklahoma in a Walmart parking lot for like a week. And the only place I would go to was like Mass, you know, receive the Eucharist, pray, do a holy hour, go back to the parking lot, you know, kind of work on some talks and future event content and stuff like that. I mean, I hijacked like McDonald's menu. I would say like it was my birthday, and then go to Taco Bell's like app and say it was my birthday that day so I could get a free meal or a free taco or a free dessert or whatever I could get. So hijacking, you know, apps, which is a blessing to have for fast food and stuff. So, but yeah, it was hard. I mean, being in Texas, like no AC, like car, sweating, being in a Planet Fitness parking lot. Yeah, there's some crazy stories. So just even more crazy stories with the cops and stuff like that. So, but yeah, it was just rough starting out. But it's about enduring. It's about, you know, persevering. Like being the diamond that God is calling me to be. Like, we're not an ordinary pebble, we're a diamond. We're supposed to be saints, and saints are made under pressure. You know, saints aren't made being comfortable. It's living a hard life, you know.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
There's Father Weta talked about, he goes, have you heard of that saint that got married, lived that perfect life, and then died peacefully? And I think Matt Pratt's like, no. He goes, you're right, because it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
You have to go through trials, tribulations to grow. And that's awesome that you're able to endure that and persevere, because you had that bigger goal. And you mentioned, too, when we were talking for the podcast, how you felt you were always made for this.
Yeah.
Like, this is like your vocation. And that's amazing, because so many people, when the going gets tough, they just give up. But when the going gets tough, the tough get going.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
Amazing. God bless you for able to do it. It's fantastic.
Yeah. I mean, it's my why. It's like when you find something that you love to do, it's like you can't do anything else. Like, I have to do this, or I just might as well jump off a bridge. Like, I'm not going to do that because I'm doing what I'm doing. But it's like breathing. I have to do this. It's like, or I can't do anything else. Right. And yeah, I mean, it's my life. You have to find your why. And as Catholics, we have to find an eternal why, not just a earthly why, but a forever why. And that's what our vocations are. That's our life's passions are. So finding that why is so important.
Yeah.
So
we kind of talked about the question why and why that's so important. Because, I mean, if you always do have a question why, you're always looking for the question or the answer to that question, right? And people always want to look for the answers, but they don't always necessarily know how to ask the question. And so it's finding out how, like, what is the proper question for your life? Like, what are you trying to figure out?
Yeah.
And typically it is something really simple, but the simplicity is not always easy, right?
Yeah.
It's always going to be something that's really hard like we talked about with Ryan in the podcast that came out a couple weeks ago. Well, I guess it
would be a couple weeks ago.
When this comes out, yeah. It just came out for us last week.
Yeah.
But, you know, he was talking about how going from chapter to chapter in his life, it always started with a question. And that question was typically, for him, it was like, where are you going? What are you doing with your life? And, you know, that's something you find in the gospel, too, when Jesus asked the disciples, Quo vadis, where are you going, right? Where are you going? And, you know, Jesus already knows the answer to that question. The disciples already know the answer to that question, but the question had to be asked for them to be able to answer it, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like looking for that question, like, what is God asking me today, right? And for you, you figured it out, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful because not a lot of people have that, like that ability to find that out or are blessed enough to find that out at like such a young age and push through it. It's absolutely amazing. And then also like we're given gifts by God. So I think Simon in his podcast mentioned how like the most talent in the world is like in the graveyard because people will just have this talent and just didn't use it. Yeah. And being able to use your talents for God is absolutely amazing. And so talking about like some of your youth, and so is it you deal with youth, male, female, whoever's at the youth group, or is it kind of split? Or
so, I mean, at events like, you know, with youth group parishes, I work with, it's co-ed. Right. But follow up in my mentorship program, it's guys. Like I'm a man's man, and you know, I don't want to deal with women. I can't. I get uncomfortable when they cry and all this stuff. Just had an instance at a youth event about that, and I like stayed away from that. I let the female chaperones handle that. But I'm a guy's guy, and with the follow-up, it's solely men until I find a wife or a female team member to work with the women. So. Yeah.
But that's huge. Honestly, I totally applaud you for that because this is something that I always thought was kind of irksome, was that you could put men and women into like the same group and think that everyone is going to be able to turn out the same way. Like guys and girls are inherently different. And so there has to be kind of like a natural split that occurs, especially like you said, like your follow-up is more for mentorship for men that are kind of going into adulthood. And I mean, frankly, like, you know, most women really can't lead men into a mentorship type adulthood type thing. It's just really not possible. No. Practically. It's the same thing with guys for girls. Like, and I think you understand that super well.
Oh, yeah. I can't. That's, yeah. I mean, that's my number one pet peeve in the church and youth ministry is those guy youth ministers that just spend all the time with the female youth. Yeah, it drives me insane. It just is crazy. So, and yeah, I won't say nothing.
No, 100%. Because you're obviously in it, so you know all the intricacies of how those relationships go and how deep they can go. Yeah. And then us, the outside, we always look at it like,
it's
like, why are they all following them around like that?
Yeah.
And especially, I mean, young people are so impressionable. Yeah. And we always have to be careful what we say and how we act around them. And it's sometimes just like, okay.
I always thought it was, I always thought it was kind of like it was weird because you and I obviously both grew up going to youth ministry. I assume you did, like you obviously did too. And you know, we always grew up going to retreats. And I always thought, even in high school, I thought it was kind of stupid that I was going to a retreat and there was like 50 guys and there were 50 girls, and all the guys wanted to talk about was the girls. And the girls were usually like really emotional at those retreats and like they're high in the spirit. The guys are just there to have fun talking about girls. And I was like, man, like this is stupid because not one of these guys is actually here on retreat. Yeah. And it wasn't really until later in high school when I was lucky enough at the youth ministry that I went to, there were two distinct groups, one for guys and one for girls, which was a super good idea because it really let the guys mold together. We created a group that was called Band of Brothers, which I thought was such an apt name. I don't know if you've ever seen that show.
Yeah.
It's a fantastic show that's just about like the true camaraderie of men. And that's what it really was about, was building up true camaraderie and true brotherhood. Many of those relationships I still have today. And every one of us is still a very, very strong Catholic. And typically the guys that were on the fringe of those groups, the ones that didn't stay with their brothers, they're the ones that kind of fell off. Yeah. They fell away. And I always thought that was kind of interesting when, you know, guys, if they stay on the fringe, they tend to kind of leave. Whereas the ones that stay tight in it always stay tight knit.
Yeah, and I am good. My specialty, like my talent, as you were saying, I don't have many, but my talent is like the periphery or the guys on the fringe. Like that's the people I'm focused on. That's the people that I'm engaged with. Like I don't care about the girl crying or the youth group kid that, or the guy that reads his Bible or prays the rosary. I care about the kid that doesn't want to be there.
Right.
And I feel like we don't have a lot of youth ministers that want to be uncomfortable and be like, yo, get that kid. And, you know, they might hate you, they might punch you. Well, guess what? They did that to Jesus, and those people converted. So it's like we need more leaders and mentors to reach out to the people on the fringe, on the periphery, because that's where saints are made. You know, that's being a diamond. That's being, you know, great. That's greatness.
Right. That's
hard. Like it's easy to, you know, comfort the girl crying. It's easy to, you know, talk to the kid that volunteers for everything. But what's hard is talking to that kid that's on the fringe, on the periphery, because he's probably going through the hardest thing. You know, he's probably struggling in life. And that's who Jesus spoke with, the people going through hard stuff in life. So, and that's the leaders. That's who we need. That was who St. Peter was. That's who St. Paul was. You know, people that were on the fringe, and they were the greatest leaders in the church. So.
Yeah, 100%. It was like, I mean, shepherd leaves the 99 to get the one.
Yeah.
Right.
What it is, the saints and angels of heaven rejoice more for that one coming over.
Yeah.
But that's awesome that you noticed that and you're doing that. And I love that you said it's uncomfortable because it's harder. It's easy to minister to people that are like ready, like let's go. And it's harder to be the person that already has that closed heart a little bit.
Yeah.
But just to wiggle in there, open the door. And it's like something with like converts. It's like converts, like the heart's a little bit harder toward the Catholic faith. When they open, like it's always that saying, like converts make the best Catholics.
Yeah.
Because they're just like boom, and it's and they had like they make that choice. But I love that you focus on that. You see it. Most people just don't see it.
Yeah, for sure.
And so with the youth ministry and your mentorship program, what are some things that you're seeing young men like more struggle with, and that you're seeing them more to help them with?
I mean, we all know, like, you know, lust, you know, sexual stuff, porn, masturbation. You know, that stuff is high. That stuff is like out there, and it's more normalized. Like people talk about it like, you know, sports now. And it's like not considered a struggle, or there's no shame in it really in today's culture. Yeah. Whereas like when I was high school, like it was shameful. Like it was
even when we were like just getting into high school, I think it was still kind of a on the cusp type subject. Like it was very low key. Like if you were into that, like you kind of still hit it. But I remember even really by the time I graduated, I think it was completely mainstream. Yeah. Like people didn't care. Like you just knew everyone watched it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So the people that like would talk about it, you're like, that's a weirdo. And then it's like, now you go on social media, go watch a normal secular podcast. It usually has an adult actress there. It's like, what are we doing? Look, okay, we know who's orchestrating it, know what they're doing, and they're doing a really good job at it. That's why we do this. We have this type of podcast. We talk about these things openly because it's not normal. We are not okay. We need to help and figure this out. And I asked that question knowing that was probably going to be the biggest answer. And because that's something we want to talk about a little bit. It definitely needs to be talked about more. Because so many people like struggle with it in the closet. They don't talk about it. They act like, oh yeah, no, it's fine. Oh yeah, I mean, no, I was in high school. I struggled with that. It's like, no, you were still struggling to now. Like I mean, you watch a Matt Fradd's podcast, and has more probably an older audience. He's older, and he has a lot of older guests on. How often do you see was it Strive 21 pop up as an ad?
Oh, nothing, never.
No, it pops up all the time actually.
For you
on his podcast.
Oh, and I thought you meant like in general, like on like random like ads everywhere.
No. Okay. Just in his podcast. It's one of his main ads, and there's a reason for that. Like he's doing that for a reason, because it needs to be a constant reminder for everybody, even if it's not like going straight deep into something like really, really bad, but it's just looking at people differently, looking at women differently. I mean, how many times do men just talk about women and it's just an object? And like it's like the woman is one of the most beautiful things on this earth.
Yeah.
And we just like look at that for just like 4 things. It's like,
Yeah.
what are we doing with our lives?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean the problem is that, the other side of, this battle, right, this war is really good at propagating info. Like they're really fantastic at slapping stuff in your face.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I've kind of noticed, there's a quote from C.S. Lewis where he says, like, we don't need more Catholic writers, we need more good Catholic writers. And I actually disagree with that to a certain extent, because I think that, for example, what Satan has done is he doesn't care about whether or not, the quality of what he's shoving in your face is good or not. He's just more concerned with the fact that he's just shoving a lot of stuff in your face, right? And so the social media, movies, media, music videos, video games, all of it has all this crap, right? It has all this pornography, and it's in every single part of society, right? The only way to effectively combat that is not to have like a general, like, one good quality response to it. It's to just throw as much crap back at it as you possibly can. Just basically saying, like, you have to say repeatedly over and over again, pornography is bad. These video games are bad. These music videos are bad. These songs are bad. All of this stuff that is coming out is bad. And it doesn't need to be like, you don't need to be this high theologian to say it, but you just need to have more voices out there that are saying it. And we don't have that, because I feel like so many people don't think that they're, a strong enough theologian or a strong enough apologist to say the reasons why these things are bad. And you don't have to do that. You just need to be brave enough to go out there and say, this is bad. We need to stop doing this. And that's it. Like, it can be as simple as that, I feel like. I don't know.
Yeah. So things are things. So things are things. We make things bad or good. And like what you were saying, like porn is bad. It's a bad thing. But like technology, I would say isn't bad.
Right.
I would say it's a thing, and we need, like, adding on to what you were saying, we need to learn how to use things. And the Catholic Church is allowing the world to teach our youth, to teach our adults, young adults, kids, how to use things, mind and body. So we want to take care of the spiritual stuff. But guess what? When the Catholic Church was at its highest, the best, we were running CYOs, we had schools, we had hospitals, we were mind, body, and soul. Yeah. Now we're just so focused on the soul, which is the most important thing. But we need to, like, take back the body and the mind. We need to teach kids how to work out in churches, how to build things in churches, how to do things. Like the Catholic churches should be teaching kids and adults how to use things, and take back what the world is doing, and teaching kids how to use and be. So
that's why part of the reason why we started this podcast is, in a sense, it's we want to help take back the internet, right? Because like you said, we make things and things are tools. The internet I think it's a fantastic tool for spreading so many good messages, which is what we really want to do with this podcast. There is so much crap on the internet that you can't get rid of it, but you can outweigh it, right? So if you throw enough crap, that's good enough, right? If you say crap, the word crap loosely, right? If you throw enough good things back at it, you'll eventually outweigh all the bad crap that's out there. And so it's creating this normal space for more and more, like, Catholic content, Christian content, even good songs. We need good songwriters to get back, right? Because there's so many terrible songs that are out there. You need good artists. You need good filmmakers, right? And like you said before, you kind of noticed, like, at the top of most of these industries, the best person is usually someone who's Catholic. We need more good Catholic people at the top of these industries.
Yeah,
100%. I mean, they said take back the internet, use it. It's a tool. It's an amazing tool. We can do so much on it. But I think it was Michael Knowles. Whenever something like new comes out, new technologies, like someone's gonna use it for a weird sex thing. He says that.
He's not wrong.
He's not wrong. That's exactly what we do. Before we get too far, I'm just going to say, we're going to put in the description Strive 21 in there. And when you're struggling, be honest with yourself. Just do it.
What's Strive 21?
So it's his program to help get off of pornography.
Is it like Covenant Eyes, or is it more it's like a school?
Well, it's called Strive 21. It's a 21-day cleanse. So you've seen it before.
I've seen the ads probably.
So it's basically for 21 days, you sign up to this website that has a bunch of different talks that are usually done by, I think they're all done by Matt Fradd. And every single day is sort of like a new meditation on something. I don't know what all the meditations are, but he just talks about pornography, about some of the reasons why people it starts off, why do people get into pornography? And then it kind of delves into the topic of, what are some things that you can do to mitigate yourself feeling all these temptations and stuff like that. And the third one is, how do you maintain the streaks that you kind of do all those? So it's 21 days of basically striving.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome.
And it's also like community based too. So there's like people in there that have gone through it. Because it's one thing I remember in high school, I'd had a group chat with my buddies, and we would just talk to each other all the time. We made it normal, and not like some weird thing that we all made it normal. We talked about it, and it helped so much go through things. Any struggle you had, even if it wasn't just that, which is absolutely beautiful. But so good. But going back to like the tools and stuff, which need to be mindful of what we're doing. Mindful what we're listening to, mindful what we're watching. Like when you take a cleanse of like music, and you just listen to Christian music, which there's a lot of really good Christian music out there. Shout out Colby. And you listen to that for a little while, and then you go back to secular music, like, whoa, they might not be dropping the F-bomb, but what they're talking about is disgusting. It's hard. It's hard to listen to. And it's hard as someone who's listened to that growing up. Like, I love these songs, and I can't listen to this since you just know. Like, I can't be ignorant to it anymore. For TV shows, like, I loved watching Game of Thrones, but I just can't watch that. I tried to watch it with my wife like maybe a year ago now. I only got like 3 minutes in and turned it off. Like, damn. Like, and she said, I can't watch this. And I'm sitting there like, I can't watch this now. Like, I have to be honest with myself. Like, I missed the show, but I can't. That's why, like, have you heard of VidAngel? Dude, VidAngel, I heard from the Lemke's, is the greatest thing ever. You can watch any movie and you can take everything out. Some of the movies, if you like look at the timeline after you take stuff out, it's like nothing. You probably shouldn't be watching the movie.
Can't watch The Hangover.
No, but it makes that movie you able to watch it.
Really?
Yeah, because it'll take out every word you need. It'll take out every word you need. Any bad scenes, even if it's like a camera angle on dude's butt, it'll take it out. Or a statue. It'll literally flag statues. And that's super cool. Like, I hope that they could just send out everywhere. Because then after people start using it more, they'll realize, wait a minute, I can watch stuff like this. And then maybe producers and movie people will be like, okay, wait, this isn't working anymore. We have to change it up. But then you also have like Angel Studios, who's pumping out amazing movies, amazing shows that don't have any garbage in it. So we can go back to watching stuff without worrying that there's some sort of underlying message. Like look, Disney, like what they're doing to our kids. Or we're not kids yet, but soon. But it's just absolutely insane.
Well, like you kind of said, I mean, you're going based on what Mike is saying. Like, it's crazy how much you realize you're desensitized to, and like what you said, you're going around teaching all these kids, kind of confronting them with the reality of the world, that like you need to work on these actual real things. There needs to be sort of this resensitization of society, almost, especially Catholic society, because Catholics have for too long, really, and I'm not separate from this group or anything like that, but we really are desensitized to the world. All these worldly evils and stuff like that. Like you just talked about, like a guy's butt on the screen, right? Like normally, like you wouldn't even really care about that. Like that could be in a PG-13 movie now, right?
PG movie now.
Yeah, maybe a cartoon butts and stuff like that, like all the time. Like the DreamWorks movies growing up, and Bug's Life or whatever, like that one scene there. But like you're just desensitized to it. Like for us, it's just funny, right? But 100 years ago, that never would have slid.
Look at the clothes people are wearing now.
Or like 100 years ago, people, when they saw a butt, they weren't immature about it, or they weren't turned on by it. So it's like, because they dealt with natural thing. That's a natural thing. That's a butt. Like, I'm not going to laugh at it or, do something inappropriate. So it's like, and that's what I would do or my advice on combating, especially like sexual sin, is doing natural stuff. Like my best like advice would be to run. Like if you're struggling with like porn or any lustful thing, like run. Like it'll help you out so much. And like being outside, being in nature, like eating stuff right, like eating natural stuff will make your body feel good, and you won't want that porn or those dirty stuff. So
Yeah.
I think doing natural stuff is a great way to combat that, and looking at stuff at its natural state of how it's designed to be.
Mm-hmm.
So
And have a bunch of just jacked Catholics.
yeah.
Hey, the world would be a much better place if all Catholic men were jacked.
100%. I mean, that's a challenge. Hey guys, next year, everyone
Next
gets
year.
swole.
Yeah.
But no, that's beautiful, because you're right. Everything is natural. Like our desires are natural, and they're beautiful because they produce beautiful things. Like God has given us the ability to make other human beings.
Yeah.
Like that's crazy. And we've taken that beautiful act and made it something, I want to say gross, but just bad in certain lights.
Mm-hmm.
And people focus on that, and then also it's just for pleasure.
Yeah.
I mean, even like eating food used to just be a necessity. You have to eat, and you got food. Like it was hard to get, and you feel good. Now you're good to go. Now we have we eat for pleasure.
Yeah.
I mean, like especially in America, the food that we have, that with all the garbage they throw into it,
Yeah.
we eat just for pleasure.
Yeah.
And I love like the focus on the body, working out, going, and then eating good food that's going to nourish you. Because, so talking to my anchor Ryan Arto, and when you kind of strip away everything, you have no coping mechanisms anymore. You have to face yourself, and eating bad and not working out is a coping mechanism.
Yeah.
Watching porn and doing this stuff is a coping mechanism. You never actually heal because you're avoiding it. Constantly coping. And so when you have that ability to strip everything, and then you could actually heal.
Yeah.
You can become better. You can be the person that you always were meant to be. You're not meant to be depressed. You're meant to be sad. You're meant to be just killing life. You're meant to be just living amazingly. But when you keep having these negative coping mechanisms, you just feel horrible.
Yeah.
Always feel horrible.
Yeah. For sure.
Can you imagine if everyone just didn't just face their fears, face who they were, looked at themselves in the mirror for the first time, really looked at themselves for the first time in the mirror?
Yeah.
How crazy different the world would be.
Yeah. But that's hard. That's hard to do. But I mean, it's actually easy to do. You know?
Yeah. When
When you look at it, it's easy to be natural. Like it's hard to be fake and plastic, and I mean, we're less than human. When we do those things, like we're less than human. But yeah,
no, you're 100% right. You mentioned in a couple of podcasts, like what God wants is like simple.
Yeah.
Like it may seem like a tall ask, but it's simple.
Yeah.
Just worship Him, love Him, and then like just try to learn, like gain knowledge, learn Him. And it's not always easy, but it's not complex at all.
Yeah.
And I have a buddy who challenged me. He asked me, if you can do certain things right now to be a better husband and Catholic, what would you do? And I said, get off my phone, go to daily mass. He goes, okay, do it.
Yeah.
It's like,
well, it's not that simple.
it's not that simple. It's like it literally is that simple.
Yeah.
We just choose not to do it, and it's like it's a choice. It's like, oh, I just do it. No, you chose not to do something.
Yeah.
If you were like, oh, I'm gonna lay down and take a nap, you chose to do that, and choosing good, like and choosing what's better for you, is not easy at all. Like we're saying all these things, we all still struggle. We're not these perfect people at all, just because we're on the internet. But we're actively trying, and we're acknowledging our failures and not saying, oh, I didn't go to mass this morning, I'm just a horrible person, and just it's like, no, next day, all right, let's try to get better.
Yeah.
Like it's
But I think there's like a part of you too that in terms of, especially as being sort of like an instructor, and that's sort of like a role that you're obviously kind of getting yourself more and more into as you've kind of done it over the years. You kind of maybe, I don't know if this is your experience or not, but maybe the more and more that you kind of you're actively telling people about this life that, you know, they really should want to lead, you know, has it gotten easier for you to try to strive for that life as well, kind of, or have you found it to become a little bit more harder as the years have come? 'Cause, you've set
Yeah, like at the beginning it was hard because it was like something new, like being Catholic, and I was kind of like in my old ways, and like I'm like two-faced, like living a double life. But now that I know what I want, and now that I'm older, it's like easier because it gives me something like to strive for. Like it's all about preparation. Like life is about preparation. Like knowing where I want to be in 5 years. Well, I got to prepare now. And like it's easy. Like that's why I picked what I do, is because I know I'm weak in these areas and I need to be better. And this job, this career is going to make me the best person that I want to be. So, and it's like I have to like go to adoration. I have to go to mass. I have to do a holy hour, or because that's where I get my inspiration. That's where I get my ideas for retreats and talks. And if I'm not doing that, then I'm nothing. And so,
you create like habits out of necessity. Right. And because that's what we should all kind of be striving to do, is creating those good habits, because we've said time and time again, it's probably the thing that, at least for me, I've repeated the most, is that social media is the thing that separates you into all these different aspects of your lives, and Satan presenting you with so many different options. And that's not to say social media is bad, but the way that social media is presented to a lot of high schoolers now, Satan is definitely at work, because you're just constantly confronted with different pictures, different clicks that you can get into, different quirks, like everything. Like it's everything that you want it to be. But at the same time, it's nothing, because it presents you with too much. With getting into a solid habit is almost the antithesis of that, because you're constantly like striving to put yourself in one centralized idea and habit for your life. For you, that's ministry. For us right now, it's sort of this podcast. For Brian, it's making sure that the sound is working. All these different things, that becomes your habit, right? And when your habit becomes the central focal part of your life, it makes your life a lot simpler. And it makes it a lot better, because you don't need to be distracted by all these different things that you're constantly doing. You can just focus on that one habit and how that allows you to glorify God even more.
Yeah, for sure.
100%. When your life's focused around God and ministry, you have to, like you said, you have to be good at the new God. In that light. That's why like doing this podcast and the other two channels is like I'm growing. So I'm forcing myself to grow in my faith. And it's really easy to be lukewarm and just to go through the motions, go to mass every Sunday, have a holy day of obligation, pray the rosary every once in a while. But when you or putting yourself in a position to perform, especially as men, and you have to do it. You have to learn it. You have to keep pushing forward. And fighting temptation when you feel it. Like you when like the devil is a little bit like whispering in your ear. Like on the way here today, I'm like I used to pray the rosary every single time I drove down here, and I've been kind of got away from it the last couple of weeks. Because it's way easier to turn on music and it's more fun. And I got in the car today. It was really stressful. I've done a lot today. And I just threw myself in the car. I'm like, I'm just going to listen to music. I'm like, no, I need to pray the rosary. And then just put it on. I listen to the rosary and say as I'm driving. And I'm like, okay. Like it's just a little win. And it feels so good to get that little win. And just continuing that through the rest of the night and through the day. And that's why if you can remember, say a little prayer in the morning. Get that little win. Start off the day on a win. I mean, how many people talk about like get up in the morning, first thing you do is like make your bed. Like the Navy SEALs talk about it. George Peterson. like these are pretty like high up people. And the simplest things, getting those little wins, just starting that little bit of a habit, being intentional with what you're doing.
No, I feel you. No, I agree. And that's why I like traveling and stuff, because it keeps me like moving, and I need to move, staying. And about like being a man, it's about action. It's about acting and doing, and finding ways to like do stuff. Like that's what I tell the youth. Like if you find mass boring, it's because you're boring, and you need to sing. You need to be an altar server. You need to be a greeter. You need to do something. There's thousands of things like you could be doing. Like pray the rosary. Like during mass, that's what they used to do. Like, find something to do that you'll enjoy. That's using your talents, using your gifts. Like in the world that we live in today, like it would be great to go to mass and pray the rosary, or go to church, pray the rosary. But when you're playing video games, like turn on the Hallow app and pray the rosary. Like, pray the rosary while playing video games. Like, pray the rosary while working out. Like, infuse your faith in everything that you do. And you turn that into a virtuous thing. So that's that's something I do. So
I love that. Like, what I've started to do is like carry a rosary in my pocket.
Yeah.
And I have it like dangle out just enough to where it keeps hitting my hand. And it's not because I'm wearing it just to show people, hey, look, I have a rosary, I'm Catholic. It keeps hitting my hand. It reminds me, okay, hey, you're Catholic, act like it. Hey, you're Catholic, think like it.
Yeah.
You're Catholic, be like it. Like it's really easy just to go through the motions and forget. Yeah. And I love like this, like praying the rosary just whenever you can, like throughout the day. Like there's it's like an hour-long prayer. It's like repeating the same handful of words over and over again. It's like almost an Gregorian chant. I forget the name, but I'll listen to that when I'm at work. Be careful about it because it can put you to sleep.
Yeah.
But when I was younger, I just fall asleep with the rosary every night.
Yeah.
And like when I feel like when I have a struggle at night with possible like whatever it is, temptation, whatever it is, I will just like turn the rosary on. And just fall asleep with Mary and with God. And I remember when I was I had a little trouble with, I don't know, too deep into it, but a lot of trouble. I actually had a priest. I was blessed enough. He gave me a relic of the True Cross to keep with me, and I had it for 3 months. I slept with it every single night.
Yeah.
And like it was like literally sleeping on the wood of the cross with our Lord was just absolutely insane.
That's
like,
awesome.
The peace. If it fell out of my bed, move at night, I immediately woke up and felt it. It was crazy. I can't really explain the comfort that comes from that.
Yeah.
But I was so blessed in that part of my life to have that to kind of push me through.
That's awesome.
Yeah, just being with God. Just be with God. He's here.
Yeah.
But when you're in a state of mortal sin, you turn your back on him.
Yeah.
And when you choose not to think about him, you're turning your back on God.
Yeah.
Like your creator.
Yeah.
He loves you so much. We constantly just turn away from him. When you play that movie you shouldn't be watching, or you listen to that music you shouldn't be listening, you're turning your back on God.
Yeah.
And we need to turn towards God. Turn and run.
Yeah.
He loves you.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I think one of the biggest keys is because I feel like, I think some people don't really know that they're turning their back on God anymore. Like I think we've become so desensitized that you don't even really know that certain music is really almost hypnotizing you in a way. Which, I mean, again, this goes back to youth ministry. It's why it's so important. Like, I don't envy your job because, you have so much responsibility and that, you place with yourself with, how you confront these kids and help them confront their problems and stuff. Because a lot of kids nowadays, unfortunately, I really don't think know the type of danger that they're in. You and I certainly didn't. I'm sure you didn't, even in high school, with like the power of like a smartphone. Yeah. Right? And what the power of a smartphone can really do. I didn't know the power that was in my hands when I, first got one. I don't think you did either.
No, not at all.
I don't think kids who are in high school do either,
Yeah, when I was in high school, we had flip phones, and the most dangerous thing I could do is it was like I think LG flip phone, and you can put OK, 0, up, OK, and it'll make it vibrate until you did that same sequence. And so I'd get all my friends' phones vibrating. So it was funny. But talking about like youth and music, so I have and I hate music. Like I'm not really a music guy, and I won't listen to any like modern secular music that wasn't created or artist wasn't established before 2010. So I hate all modern rap. I'm old school hip hop, rap, Eminem, 50 Cent, like all those guys. Like I listen to those guys, but my youth, I remember I was hanging out with two of my youth, and they're like playing secular music. I don't even know who it was, rap, and they're laughing and stuff, and I just break my radio. I take the knob off. I throw the knob out. I break it. They're like, "Why did you do that? Why you're acting extra? All this stuff." I'm like, "Dude, it's serious. Like, listen to those words. Like, what they're rapping about. Like, do you want to be like them? Do you want to abuse your wife? Do you want to leave your kids? Do you want to do drugs? Like, that's what you're gonna become if you continue listening to this stuff." And yeah, so it's deadly. So
Yeah.
That's awesome that you just like flipping the tables.
Yeah.
Like it's what needs to be done in a like a respectful but honest way.
Yeah.
And that's like we're blessed right now. I love music. Love music. And so I've been blessed to find a lot of really awesome Christian artists. And there's a lot coming. And honestly, shocking enough, Christian rap is good.
Yeah.
There's some good Christian rap out there.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there listening to it. I'm like, all right, this sounds like the stuff I used to listen to. Like my favorite, I love Colby, but like my favorite Christian rapper right now, Big Breeze. He's this big guy. He just raps. And it sounds like ghetto rap, like you listen to, like you hear like when you roll through the hood, bumping through some cars. I'm like, this is sick. And I'm working out. Like, got the Bible on my side. Like it's fantastic.
Yeah.
And like you can choose to listen to the good stuff.
Yeah.
And you also can choose to listen to like the bad stuff, but you need to know what you're doing. And you mentioned like people don't realize how they might be turning their back to God. That's why I said it like that.
Right.
I said it like that for a reason.
Yeah.
Because I remember having a conversation, or I was watching a podcast with it was a Pint to the Aquinas podcast, and I forget who it was. It was like I think it was Father Carlos Martin, the exorcist. And he's talking about when you're state of more sin, like you are turning your back to God and you're turning to the devil, who's the son of sin, the king of sin.
Yeah.
And we don't realize the magnitude of our sin, what it really is. And I mean, if you look at like most Christians, they're just like they don't have confession, they don't have reconciliation like the Catholics do. Yeah. And it's just they sin, so sorry God. It's like no, it's way more than that. Yeah. And then even Catholics, it's isn't that bad, I'll be okay. It's like no, you were turning your back to God. Yeah. You were physically separate yourself from God. Yeah. And when people are doing it on purpose. Yeah. And I say it like this because I mean, like I was like ignorance is bliss. So right, so if you don't know it, you don't know it. But if you've listened this far on the podcast and you've heard me say it, you now know it, and you are accountable to it. You cannot lie to yourself, and you have to make those conscious decisions.
Yeah.
And that's also when you're able to, like, especially going back to like your youth ministry, you're able to like counter these young men, and especially you go farther in your mentorship program, and you've lived life and you've gone through a lot, and you know what people are struggling with, and when you're able to tell them that, like you're now giving them the ability to be accountable for themselves. Yeah. And that in a way that they might not have had before, and you're giving them structure and not just telling them, hey, this is where you're going wrong. It's this is something that you probably need to fix. This is how we fix it, and I'm going to be with you every step of the way.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so about the music, like people don't realize like the devil was the most beautiful singer in heaven. So that's how he uses people to like corrupt them. And we won't go deep, but like Hollywood, we know all this stuff, like the different like levels and stuff, like the things that higher ups try and make people like do and get them to do. It's the devil. It's the devil's work. But there are great, like, I mean, there's even old school rap that's good. The gospel gangsters, they are legit. That's like early 90s. It was like Tupac. So like it sounds like Tupac, just like legit people. But yeah,
I used to listen to
gospel
Tupac,
gangsters.
Yeah.
I mean, Lecrae sounds like Tupac, but he's pray for that guy.
This I mean, I love talking about Christian music because it's so funny sometimes. Like I couldn't let's do it because it's so cheesy all the time.
Yeah.
And now we're like getting artists who are trying not to offend anybody, but they're God's giving people gifts to make music about Him and glorifies Him in a beautiful way that you have to think about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like poetry. Like poetry is not. It's just words on a page and it says something, but it means something way deeper. Yeah. And that's what Christian music's finally getting to. It's and there's so much more depth and
what it's getting back to.
Getting back to, yes.
Yeah.
And there was good Christian poetry back in the day.
I'm not poetry. I'm some music. I know you might use poetry. So it's just an analogy with it. I don't know poetry that well.
You don't like VeggieTales?
We need to bring that back, dude. VeggieTales was the greatest thing. I learned so much about the Bible. Just the problem though with VeggieTales and is like I remember the Bible stories because it happened in VeggieTales. Like, oh yeah, I remember this because like they were in the chocolate factory.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
But
sorry, not to
no, you're good. I talk about VeggieTales. I'm always in. But yeah, it's growing and God's using music. Like He always used music. I mean, like songs.
Yeah.
Like
it's
always been there. But I like that you touched on Hollywood.
Yeah.
And they don't hide it anymore.
Yeah.
They used to be hidden.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like kind of like back room type things. But you watch anything truly secular, the Grammys, whatever it is.
Oh yeah.
They don't hide it.
Yeah.
You have people dressed as Satan.
Yeah.
People, and then that one music video with what's his face?
Lil Nas.
Yeah, Lil Nas, where he had there was two. Okay, he started off with dancing on Satan, went to hell, dance on Satan. Okay, it's not demonic, and then he dressed as Christ and faked all that. It's like, you can't be ignorant to that. I don't care who you are.
Yeah.
It's not that hard to see.
Well, this is what I was saying before is, I don't want to say the left, but I mean, it's kind of like the left, right? Like just to use a term to describe the other side, other than just saying the other side. The left, they're really good at just throwing small bits at you, right? And allowing for you to just kind of get used to the small little specks of dust that are going, because then you get used to that feeling, and then they get a little bit bigger, and then they're like really just throwing like actual boulders at your face, and it's just grown so much over time that you just got used to the feeling of being hit in the face, right? And that's how it is with the Grammys. I mean, like, people are just so desensitized to it.
Yeah, I don't watch that stuff.
Yeah.
I don't watch
music,
either.
Me neither, yeah. But the problem is, like, you see it on social media because they do it, and then they throw it everywhere, like I said, right? Like, they're really good at throwing it's basically propaganda, right? It's propaganda. They throw it everywhere because they want you to see it. They want you to be forced to see it.
Yeah.
And, going back to youth ministry to make sure, like, you kind of stay on topic and stuff, it's so important to resensitize kids to these problems.
Do you have any, like, when you're with your like the kids and you see obviously they're on their phones and obviously like their lingo's and stuff changing, is there anything you do at your events to kind of help people like stay off their phones? Do you just acknowledge it, or?
Nah, I do the opposite. Like I said before, like I teach them how to use their phones properly. So a couple of my activities, like kids make TikToks, kids make videos, right? We make Instagram posts, all this stuff, right? Well, back in the day, if you guys been on a retreat, you would write letters, right?
Yeah.
To your parents or whatever, your mentors or someone that inspired you. They call it Polanka or affirmation letters. Well, what I get the kids to do is make videos to like a family member or someone that they're struggling with.
Smart.
And making a video, and then they text them that video. Get them to download the Bible app, get them to download Hollow, getting them to use their phones because they're going to use it anyway. It's like, why don't I teach them how to use it properly? So that's a part of who they are, or not. It's not who they are, it's what they do. So I need to teach them how to use it because they're going to go back to the fake world on retreats and stuff. That's real. That's, that's how life is supposed to be like, which it will be in heaven. But I teach them how to use, like I said, it's not about that retreat. It's about what are they going to be after the retreat. So teaching them how to use their phones and not taking it away, not being a Hitler dictator about it, because, that I'm not here. Like, I have to meet them where they're at. I can't be like, hey, I want you to be where I'm at right now. Right. Because guess what? When I was in high school on a retreat, I was worried about the girls and stuff like that. I know where I was, and I know what it took to get to where I'm at now. So I have to meet them where they're at. And because if I don't, I'm going to make them not like get to I want them to be better than me. Yeah. Like, I want all these kids to be better than me. So I don't even want them to be where I'm at now. I want them to be far ahead. And how do I do that is by caring about who they are, and what they do.
Yeah.
Like, it's not about like, there's a great book. It's How to Win Friends and Influence People. And it says, people won't care about you until they know you care about them. So who cares about my retreat? Who cares what I'm saying if I don't care about these kids individually? And respect who they are and what they do. And I'm going to get them to an even better level, getting them to be the saints that God is calling them to be. So
I really like that. It's kind of cool. You can look at it as sort of like an image, because there are, I'm not calling people out, but there are youth ministers that are out there that they'll show you like the image of attainment, right? Like, this is where you want to be, like, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. Showing people like these are the lives of the saints. There's nothing wrong with that. But being confronted with that as a kid, you really have no idea how to get there. Whereas I really, really like your methodology where it's more of, let me meet you here where you are in the path, and we'll go on this journey together.
Yeah.
Right?
That's what Jesus did. I call it like mountain mentoring. So I'm still figuring this out. So
I like this. Yeah.
So Jesus went up the mountain with, Peter, transfiguration. So he went up on the mountain with the disciples, right? And it was they messed up. Jesus was doing really everything, right? They get to a point and they see Jesus and how he actually is, his highest form, his heavenly form, and they're like, this is awesome, this is amazing. They're like the best version of themselves. Like, they went on a retreat basically, and they're like, I want to live for Jesus. But guess what Jesus made them do? They went back down the mountain. We know that. But guess what? They climbed another mountain, and that was towards heaven without Jesus physically in their life. Like, Peter had to climb up another mountain of transfiguration, and that's what we have to do as Catholics, is individually climb up that mountain to see Jesus again. And where that mountain is heaven. So there's two mountains in life. One that we have a mentor and someone that is a like Jesus figure in our life, and then a mountain that's our end destination, whether hell or heaven. But you don't come down, because going back down's the world, but you're going heaven or hell, and hopefully you reach that top of the mountain and have reached heaven. So, but we can't stay. We have to make Jesus, like, we have to choose this life like ourselves. Without Jesus, like, physically, without that emotional high, that's like the best way to choose Jesus.
No, like 100%, because it's actually a choice.
Yeah, it's a choice. Yeah,
it's not just, I feel it now, and this is something I'm going to be. I mean, also, like, how many people leave the Catholic Church because I didn't feel Jesus.
Yeah.
It's like, it's not about how you feel. It's like, he's there. And I really want to touch on like what you mentioned about how you have to teach the kids how to use social media correctly, because social media in their phones is always going to be there.
Yeah, it's not leaving.
No, it's not leaving, and that's where I think more Catholics need to hear that and understand that.
Yeah.
And I don't want to call any groups Catholic out, but like, you need to understand, like, it's here. It's not going anywhere. We need to be there.
Yeah.
Like, I posting on social media. I was posting. We were posting on TikTok for a little while, and I just stopped.
Yeah.
So it's because I would have to be on TikTok.
Yeah.
I'm like, this sucks. Because you get sucked in. It does an amazing job of just sucking you in. But then I watched a Pines podcast, and he goes to another guy who makes social media content, and he asked about being on TikTok. And he's like, the devil's on TikTok. I have to be there too.
Yeah.
Catholic need to be there. And that's just not just being there, but then teaching kids how to find those people, how to downloading those apps is huge. Following the right people on social media, because the more people you follow, your For You page changes. Like, your algorithm changes.
Yeah.
And if you're filling with bad stuff, it'll be full of bad stuff. If you fill it with good stuff, it'll be full of good stuff. Like, I love where my For You page right now is fantastic. I love where it's at. And it's beautiful that you acknowledge that.
Yeah.
And you are helping that move forward. And I think, like I said, I think more people need to hear that, understand that, because the first like gut reaction, take phone away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, well, they're gonna get a phone at some point anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like we've talked about it, like we're about to be a father, and same with me. It's like, when do we give our kids phones? And I'm like, oh, I don't know. Like my first thoughts are when they buy one.
Yeah.
But like they also at the end they have to learn how to use it, and you have to be honest with everything that is on there, honest with the world. And like what I feel like a lot of Catholics do, and because they care so much, they want to protect their kids.
Yeah.
Just like any parent does.
Yeah.
But you also have to be like real with the kid.
Yeah.
Like, this is what the world is. This is what's going to happen. Like, I didn't curse until like I think 8th grade or high school, because we just didn't curse at home. 'Cause I was supposed to. So it was nice. But then when I went to like more like sporting events, stuff like that, I was in a play, and this kid every lunch break, he called it cursing lessons, and would teach me curse words. Like it's like no matter how sheltered you can
I was
be.
probably that kid.
It's like the most elementary school thing
awesome.
I've ever heard in my entire
Oh,
life.
dude, no, I wish I could make this up. Like it's straight truth. But that's like, so no matter like the whole point of saying that is no matter how much you want to protect and cover people's eyes, it's going to show in some kind of way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No matter what you do, and just acknowledging it and teaching it.
And that's always been the case too. I think it's really important to realize like that has always been the case in humanity. That the world is not there to make you like your child is if the child just lived in like a completely natural physical way, no one would turn out perfect.
Yeah.
It's just not possible.
Yeah, I love this is whenever people like complain about cell phones and stuff, I bring up the newspaper. The cell phone is the modern day newspaper. Like, what did parents do when they wanted to ignore their kids? They'd read the newspaper. Kids got beat by a newspaper. Is that how a newspaper was designed or technology it was for? No, like how properly use a newspaper, show your kids articles, read the comics, do the puzzles, the crosswords, have some alone time to gain some knowledge and stuff. But like your phones are just a modern day newspaper along with a bunch of other stuff. So it's a tool. It's how you use it. So yeah.
I absolutely love that. Yeah, because have you ever seen the people, like older people will complain how kids are on their phone too much? But then you take a picture from the 50s, and everyone's reading.
Everyone's on their news.
It's so
like,
true.
It's like, hey, boom.
Yeah.
Because I mean, like we talked about on a rock podcast, like the world doesn't change.
Yeah.
It goes in cycles.
Well,
Oh, yeah, exactly.
yeah, my favorite guy, early formator in my life, like spiritual father, is Fulton Sheen.
Oh.
And he says, there's no new problems, just new people.
Mm.
And it's so true. There's no new problems, just new people.
By the way, great guy.
Yeah,
Great
I mean,
pick.
he's a saint. Yeah. He's a saint. I don't care what the church
The last
says.
guy in the podcast said the exact same
He's
thing.
a saint. I mean, the miracles got approved. Just
It'll get there.
Yeah.
But as actually fun talking about like people that we know are like we have a good inclination that they're probably saints, and I think about that. I've been thinking about that more recently because I watched a lot of podcasts. But it was a podcast on Dale Quest was talking about G.K. Chesterton, and
The guy that we were talking about.
that guy.
With that. Yeah.
I feel like their school.
Yes.
And he like talking about like making like prayer cards, right? And so someone and Matt asked him like wait, no, you're good. Like don't call.
No.
And Matt Fred asked him, at what point like can you start praying to somebody? And it's like a praying. It's a Catholic prayer. It's like you were talking to somebody. Like that's how we talk to the saints. It's like different than most people think. But it's just like that's the only way they become saints.
Yeah.
Is like asking for their intercession.
Yeah.
And he's like, you're right. I didn't think about it either. It just kind of blew my mind a little bit. Because there's some people that like just like we also don't know really what modern day saints will look like. It's different, you know. We know what what the church fathers like all them like look like. There's a lot of people that are in like Thomas Aquinas, like they're in like the Dominicans, like they're all their life's like written down and documented. People are watching them, and they're also asked like towards the end of life to write all their stuff down. So you have an account of their life. Yeah. But we don't have that like for like, normal modern day saints, and so it's to keep that in mind because it's just been really on my mind recently is Colby Bryant. Like he was a Catholic. He went to mass the day he died. Yeah. And as you know, the only thing that serves as Catholics, if you are a state of grace,
Yeah.
Like you go to heaven, right? And you go to confession. And we know how crazy he was in basketball. It's pretty safe to say he probably was the same in his
Like the
Catholic faith.
patron saint of the NBA.
Could be,
Yeah.
but that's one thing.
The thing is, it is actually incredibly beautiful, though. That you point that out. Like,
we need to think about that.
yeah.
Yeah, so I like that you brought that up because one of my activities that I have the kids do is make their own saint cards. Like, so what do you want to be the living saint of? What do you want to be the saint of? Like, we relied too much on the saints of the past, the laurels, the fruits of the saints, and that's great. But if you're not going to be about that life, don't talk about these saints.
Right.
Like, make your own, like, saint card. Be your own saint. Like, use these guys as inspirations. Like, pray to them and stuff like that. But don't wear the mask of Saint Therese or Juan Diego. If you're not being a saint, if you're not choosing to be a saint, I don't want you to talk about these saints because they want you to be saints. They don't want you to talk about them. You think they're tired of hearing their names. They want you in heaven. And that's the same thing like with the Bible. It's like, would your life be in the modern day Bible? Like, because the Bible stories are about the disciples, St. Paul, his writings, his teachings. Are you creating your own letters, your own books of your life? You're not recreating the Bible, but you got to be about that life. You got to be a saint. That's all that matters, is being a saint, getting to heaven.
That's amazing. I love that.
Yeah, and I got that because I was, like I said, early years, super prideful. So someone made me a saint card. It was Saint Taco. And then I lost it. Our car got broken into in LA. And then I was like the patron saint of pickup lines because at this work camp, I was like saying all these pickup lines. So, but it's transformed into something more fruitful. It's like getting these kids to be like, I want to be the patron saint of the fatherless because they grew up without a dad. And like, so you said who are going to be the modern day saints? Like the saints of the past and stuff, like I'd say 1800s and those years, like they served the poor, they did a lot of stuff in community. Where I believe that there's going to be saints of is if you loved your family. Because of our broken culture without people growing up with their dads, moms, like people caring more about their community before their family, that's where saints are going to come from. The people that were a great brother, a great husband, a great father, a great mom, a great, sister. That's what a saint in modern day looks like if you love your family. So,
it's beautiful. It's 100% true.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they even mentioned it like on that podcast. Like he becomes a saint. Like it was his wife. Him and his wife are one body.
Yeah.
You get married, you're one body.
Mm-hmm.
And that's I love the started like a kind of a little bit of a joke with like the Saint Taco, but then God used that little seed and look what He's doing with it.
Yeah.
Like that's so cool.
Yeah.
And we our job as Catholics is to be saints, to get to heaven.
Yeah.
We have one thing.
Yeah.
Get to heaven.
Yeah.
And then if you were married, get your wife to heaven, your kids to heaven.
Mm-hmm.
But make your own saint card. That's sick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a question for today. If you want to be a patron saint, what do you want to be a patron saint of? Let us know in the comments,
Yeah.
A little stuff for sometimes I forget we're on YouTube. But that's
very true though. Yeah.
I'm just thinking like I'm thinking about it in my head, and I can only imagine how those kids like they're getting that thing, and it's not just like, once you think about it, like you live it.
Yeah.
It's like you write it down and you're living it. Like you write it's real now.
Yeah.
Like you said at the beginning, you have to find your why.
Yeah.
Right? Like you have to find, what is bringing you to heaven. What's your saint card? Why is that your saint card?
Yeah.
Right. It's that simple why question again. Like we said with Ryan, like you see these patterns, right? Rhythms all over the place. Everything is very, very similar. Like everything kind of follows the same process. There's a question and there's an answer.
Yeah.
How are you going to go from the question to the answer? How are you going to find the question?
Yeah, for sure.
It's just all the same. It's all questions, right? It all starts with questions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This has been absolutely fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
I really appreciate you taking the time to do this, but before we wrap up, we'd like our guests to like leave a final thought, almost like call to action or something like that with our with our audience. I don't mean to put you on the spot. It's a lot weighing on this.
Yeah.
This little snippet too, it's also going to Rome. It's going to be reviewed by the Pope.
Good, okay. Catholics need to build the Catholic Church. And this is not just like in the physical building, but it is really physical building, but in every aspect of our lives. Catholics need to start building the Catholic Church. Like, I'm tired of the pagans building churches or Protestants building Catholic churches. Like, when we first got here, the Catholic Church, the Irish are building the Catholic churches, and we need to take more ownership. Like, that's what is going to bring people back. That's what's going to keep people coming to church, is when Catholics start building the Catholic Church. And that starts like mind, body, soul. Like, you have different gifts, you have different talents. Like, use that. You are a Catholic builder, you're a Catholic fitness guy, you're a Catholic cook, you're a Catholic lawyer, Catholic doctor, you're a Catholic, whatever you want to be, whatever you want to do. So start building the Catholic Church. Don't allow the world to build the church. You are a lighthouse. Don't be the storm. Like, be a lighthouse for people. We act like the world, and we act like the storms, the distractions, the sinfulness. The church acts like the sin, when we need to start acting like the lighthouse, the light, to bring people to salvation and to be the saints they're called to be. So
that's absolutely fantastic. Where can people find your ministry at?
So livinu.org is my website. I'm on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, but I don't really do much on that. TikTok is crazy.
I'm with you on that.
But Instagram's my where I post most. Facebook, I have Facebook, but livin.u on Instagram. So that's where people can find me.
Yeah, we'll link everything in the description. And if you enjoyed this podcast, please like and subscribe. And we'd love for you to look at Brandon's doing. It's actually absolutely fantastic. And this has been podcast 30.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
We're out.
No, thank you guys. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.